Guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. I'm Peter Martin. It's Tuesday, 14th of July. Hugh McDonald and Darren Jackson are with me on this programme, and hopefully you with us for the duration. You can like, share and follow us on Facebook. We'd love you to do that. And you can also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. It doesn't cost you a penny. Lots to cram into the show. Of course, Partick Thistle and Hearts discussing at the arbitration panel at the moment whether they are going to be reinstated or indeed with their case get any form of compensation which is acceptable. That's just one of a number of topics. Our one-to-one is with Partick Thistle winger Joe Cardle, who is getting to that age where taking the badges, coaching kids, possibly thinking of a long-term future. We'll hear from Joe very shortly, and over and above that we will look at, of course, some of the results in the football down south and across Europe as well. Anything that floats your boat, we'd love to hear from you. The arbitration, sooner or later, Hugh, we'll get that call. We'll get a chance to look at what the SFA panel decides on this one, albeit that it's an independent one.
Yes, and that's very important to stress that the all three members of the panel will be appointed as independent arbiters. There's three options, isn't there, Peter? You know, Hearts and Thistle win their case and stay in their respective divisions, or there's some kind of compromise payment found to alleviate their financial distress, or it's just thrown out and everything remains as it has in terms of the SPFL vote. I would not be wanting to. I mean, will not be wanting to bet on it at the moment, but obviously it's going to be hugely significant, not only for Scottish football at the moment, but Scottish football going forward in terms of appeals over SPFL decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. It's a difficult one to call. We all have a gut feeling on it. Hi to Charlie Richardson, who's in Wellingborough. Just nod if you've ever been to any of these places as we fire on, guys. To be honest with you, Darren, you'll have been practically everywhere. Agents travel all over the place when you were an agent and you had that head on. Hi to Niall Kane, Michael Climie, Gerard McMahon, Robert Monroe. There are so many people who are on in a flash and who support us. Dougie Little as well. Afternoon to Lynn Marmion, Una Brennan, Michael Jones and Lindsay Buchanan, just a few of the people who are quick off the mark and joining us, and we really do appreciate you joining us on our Facebook, and of course we'll mention our YouTubers as well. Darren, the gut feeling that we've been expressing time and time again is some kind of compensation. Not enough, I would suggest, to keep them happy.
I don't think they've got. I don't think they've got enough to keep them happy, Peter. I mean, they'll fight it all the way. They think they've been hard done by. But my gut feeling is I don't know. You know, you and I have kind of banged on about it, and we've been criticised in some areas about wanting Hearts to stay in the league and Partick Thistle. But I'm not entirely confident. I think they'll be compensated, but the compensation will never be enough.
No, absolutely agree with you. And I think one of the points we were just getting there was from Mauchline. I don't know where's Mauchline, Hugh? Do you know where Mauchline is?
Ayrshire.
Is it in Ayrshire? Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that. I wish I could remember the name that just came in there. And he's in Mauchline anyway, and he just mentioned, he says, I reckon Darren is just absolutely itching now for the haircut. Because obviously
tomorrow, Peter. Tomorrow.
I knew it would be tomorrow. I knew you'd be. You know, there are some people obviously who think they're in a desert, Hugh, and they haven't drank water for years. They're rushing to hairdressers.
Peter, I was just saying to Hugh just before we came on. I was just saying to Hugh, I would normally get my hair cut probably every 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and I've not had a cut for 5 months.
Wow.
So
that is long.
The day.
Yeah, 3 weeks is amazing as well, I have to admit to you, because usually I would get my hair cut and then maybe go 6 or 8 weeks and then you get your hair cut. But Barry actually got Roughie and them into the situation where he gets his hair cut every 9 days, Hugh. 9 days going for a haircut. I mean, honestly. I mean, can you imagine saying to your mum, I know I get my hair cut 9 days ago, but I think I'm going to go back.
That's right. I wonder if Barry gets it. Probably Barry gets it caught in one of these wee cars. Maybe he just likes going along and sitting in the wee car. You know, they put the wee bit of wood on it for him. He gets a lollipop at the end of it. But I can't talk about. I can't talk to anybody about having a haircut. It's 30 years since I've had a haircut.
Well, strangely enough, Hugh, I don't think it is 30 years since you've had a haircut, because remember I was telling you about the fact that I was opening up boxes. And I was opening up boxes, and I don't know about you, Darren. You know I'm a hoarder. I hoard things, so I've got various newspapers that I've kept over the years. You know, just significant things that happen. You think, I'll keep all of that, and I've kept the whole paper, and then I've looked at the back of the Herald, and there you are with a head of hair writing a column, Hugh. And I don't think it's 30 years ago. I might be wrong. I'm going to have a look at it. But you've got hair in your head, so.
I don't know when. I don't know when it went, but it went anyway, and it's not coming back. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. You're right there. I can't even offer you any kind of good feeling on that. You're 100% right. Dave Edwards is Dave and Brian are in Western Australia joining us, which is absolutely fantastic. We hope you're safe and well, and thank you for joining us and supporting us. There's a lot of people who I know that I think I've got Harry who has joined us in the last couple of weeks from Ontario in Canada, and he's been absolutely battering me because he's just not having it, Darren, any defence of the Jambos or criticism of the Hibbies. I'm not even sure he's a Hibbie. He just doesn't like the fact that I'm in their camp at the moment. So you're absolutely right, Darren. And George Donaldson says, I'm almost certain Darren's missus, his partner, is on Facebook watching him at the moment, because your name comes up, Darren. So we know exactly what's happening with this whole situation. It's mental. Yeah, absolutely. So hi to Karen. Great to have you on board. We'll take all comers to watch the programme. It's as simple as that. Hearts and now, this is just breaking. Hearts and Partick Thistle have been issued with a notice of complaint by the SFA for taking their dispute with the SPFL to court. Now, this one was always, this is just breaking, Hugh. This one, disciplinary rule number 78, no member or associated person shall take a dispute which is referable to arbitration in terms of Article 99 to a court of law, except as expressly permitted by the terms of Article 99. We knew this was going to happen.
Yep. Well, this is something that we've been talking about for some weeks now, that this was hovering above the heads, and it was almost inevitable. Timing is very interesting, isn't it, Peter? Presumably they could have brought that out at any time, and it's interesting that it's today of all days that they brought it out. And you would think it's very obvious that it's on this. We don't want to predict cases too often, but this would seem to be an open and shut case.
Yeah, Dougie Liddell says, find them to the hilt. Well, Dougie's got absolutely no time whatsoever for Hearts, Partick Thistle, possibly even Stranraer in their case. I mean, I know Hearts and Partick Thistle are taking the case. Stranraer will probably benefit from any ruling that comes out of it. But the one thing I would say, and it leaves a sour taste in the mouth, Darren, on this situation, is Hearts and Partick Thistle, and they would have been well aware that, and we mentioned this, I remember mentioning it, that they would be in trouble because I said member nations of UEFA and FIFA in the Articles of Association frown on any club taking something out with their arbitrary process to a court unless they're given permission. I mean, I have witnessed this on a number of occasions over the last few years, and they frown upon it, and usually frown means there's a fine. Only in Scotland could we be in a situation, and remember what's gone on for the last 3 months, only in Scotland could we be in a situation where clubs are financially cash-strapped, reducing money for players, some cutting off bonuses, some actually looking at other players while they're actually suggesting that players take wage deferrals. And then, of course, we have a situation where they're going to get fined even more money here. You couldn't make it up.
You couldn't make it up, Peter. Now, obviously, I'm no lawyer, right? But what do? Do you just sit back and take it because you can't take it to court? Surely as a club and as a board, you've got to fight for your rights for your club and for your fans and for the players. I find it very strange that, listen, that's what the rules are. Everybody knows that, and they've obviously stepped over the line and gone and broken the rules. But if it was my club, I was a supporter, I would want them to fight all the way. And if you lose, you lose. At least the club have gone ahead and put their argument up why they think they've been hard done by. So I find it strange, but I mean, whether they can afford that fines, obviously that's why they were trying to get money in. But I think it's wrong, but the rules are the rules.
Well, here's the point. There's no doubt they'll get a fine. It's a hearing which will start on August 6th because everybody knows that they've broken the rule and the article in the Rules of Association. The second part of this, though, Hugh, is maybe somewhere along the line, legal advice to Hearts and Partick Thistle is, listen, take the fine, break the rules. They must have known the rules. You can't do this blindly. They must have known they were going to break the rules on the basis of take the fine, we have to get it out of the SPFL's hands or the SFA's arbitration because we're on a hiding to nothing, so let's take the hit anyway. That must have been said to them.
Absolutely, Peter. I mean, they were engaging QCs for advice from day one. So the first thing they would be doing would be looking at the Articles of Association, and what would be brought up to them very, very quickly is this point of there is a block to this, and they would take that on and say, listen, yeah, but we know that's the case. Let's go on with this. It'd be very Scottish football, Peter, if Hearts and Thistle were to win X amount in compensation, and then in August 6th have to pay that same X amount compensation back to the SFA.
Yeah.
That'd be Scottish football, boy.
Can you see Hearts getting an £8 million award and then fined $8 million?
Fined $8 million, you know. It's like one of those doctor jokes. You know, what do you want? The good news or the bad news? You know, I'll take the good news.
Exactly.
You won $8 million.
Yeah, exactly. Hi to James Dunn, who's in Peterhead, no less. Jeanette McGinn as well. Of course, there's lots of people mentioning they've joined the show, some for the first time, and we are absolutely delighted as well about that, that you can. Hi to Alison too, who've all come on board, and especially on our YouTube channel as well. So thank you. That news just coming out that Partick and Hearts will be at a hearing on August the 8th. There's a notice of complaint served to them by the SFA for, of course, taking the grievance that they had to a court out with the formal process that should have been followed in Scottish football to arbitration within the Scottish football umbrella. Anyway, I nearly strangled myself there on the earphone. Now, lots to talk about as well. Of course, the SPFL are giving people the option, Darren, on 42 clubs have been given the option on this Betfred Cup as well. I don't think we're going to have the group stage this time. They just want to see if everybody can start it and play it in October, which is, again, I think, putting a financial strain on clubs to actually fulfil that commitment.
Well, it is. Of course it is, Peter. They'll have to look at it. Do they have the money? Do they have the ability to go and play in that cup and with the squads they've got? It's going to be a hard one. I mean, the top boys they'll be fine because they've got big enough squads. But listen, I think I said when it happened, just to try and get the league completed this for the next season. Maybe forget about the cup, but that's no fair to the sponsors and all that. So they've probably done again. they're in unprecedented times that they didn't know this was going to happen. They're giving them the options, and that's probably the best thing to do. Put on at the club and just say, do you want to play in it this year?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would say to you, Hugh, I mean, everybody's obsessed by doubles and trebles. The League Cup for me, I don't know about the long-term life of it in its current format, just because I think there needs to be a greater incentive. There's always got to be a greater financial reward. Everybody wants more money for taking part in cups. You certainly shouldn't be put at a financial disadvantage playing in the tournament. But I look at it and I think to myself, if somehow they could come up with something like a British Cup to reignite everybody's passion in it, I don't know. Am I wide of the mark on this? Am I being unfair to the old trophy?
No, I don't think. I think there is a feeling of a slight fatigue around it. I think, though, at the moment it's a very relevant cup, given that the big clubs will want to win it. It's a piece of silverware. They'll really want to win the League Cup. We can always wonder, just what might have happened with Rangers' season if they'd have won the cup when they played very well that afternoon. I'm sure Aberdeen and others would want to win it. Celtic, of course, have got this incredible record of racking up consecutive domestic titles and domestic cups in this extraordinary run. So there's certainly still a bit of interest and relevance around it. But going forward, there's certainly going to be opportunities opening up, Peter, with the fallout from COVID, and it'll be a matter of finding dates, etc., for if anybody wants to move into other competitions. And in that instance, you would imagine the League Cup would be pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, one of the points that's been made by Bruce Robertson on Facebook, he says League Cup needs to have a European place like it used to have. Well, I can understand where you're coming from with that, Bruce, but if my memory serves me correct, when it did have a European place, there was all sorts of clubs winning at the League Cup who were getting battered out within the first qualifying round, and it became an embarrassment at times. But who knows? It may well be the incentive that needs to reignite everybody's passion for it. Also, I can tell you that Hearts have released a statement. Hey, we can't go a day without getting a statement. I love a statement. It's always good. Hearts have released one right now in reaction to what's just happened with the SFA. We are incredulous to have received a notice of complaint from the SFA in the circumstances. It is oppressive of them to require submissions from both clubs by the 20th of July, when we are, in terms of their own articles of association, actively engaged in arbitration. As our focus must be squarely on that, we have already requested the SFA to review the timing to allow us to be properly prepared and represented. That is the very least we should expect from the process. I mean, my God almighty, we are in a situation where, do you know what this is like? It's like somebody started a fight in the playground, and then everybody's jumped in, and there are now people just fighting different fights about different things. I mean, it's incredible, Hugh. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, but I mean, to pick holes in the Hearts statement, how can they be incredulous at this? You and I have been talking. This program's been talking about once that this was coming down the line. They must have known this was coming down the line, Peter. Surely they can't. I mean, this isn't just like Perry Mason's walked in the last 5 minutes of the show and said, "Members of the jury, I give you this witness," and swelling theme music goes up. I mean, this is predictable.
In all defence, though, Hugh, it's predictable that it was coming. But is it predictable that two SFA boffins get in a room and thought, by the way, they're in a meeting down the corridor. Let's schedule this for a day that's going to really hack them off.
That's what I was saying. My first reaction to it was, why today of all days? But we knew it was coming, and I mean, and this idea that why they're doing this while we're in, we're now adhering to the protocols, and we're in an SFA meeting. Yeah, but that's not what it's about. You're adhering to the protocols because you went to court and court said to you, adhere to the protocols.
Yeah, Stuart Lang has said this is schoolboy stuff. It absolutely is, Stuart. 100% right. Sean Grogan's a little bit more scathing on our League Cup chat. He says the biggest cup in Scotland is the Caramel Wafer Cup. Darren, I don't know about you, but let's not knock Tunnock's caramel wafers. I mean, they are excellent with a cup of tea. I don't know about you, but I need a biscuit with a cup of tea, as you can see by these cheeks.
Yes, I like a Mars bar with a cup of tea, Peter.
Oh, there you are. There. Oh, by the way,
sorry, go on.
No, on you go.
Peter, actually going back to the League Cup, I know Celtic and Rangers and the teams that are in Europe don't come into the group stages to begin with, but the other teams in the Premier League, they were actually using it as pre-season games.
Yep.
That's what, because you were playing, and I don't mean disrespect the lesser teams from the lower divisions, you were actually using them as pre-season games. So that's where a lot of the teams were probably going out at the group stages, because they were playing one team on a Saturday and then another team the following week, then another team the following week. So probably a lot of clubs weren't taking it as serious as hoped, because, as I say, you're going to use it as pre-season and try and get fitness into the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I don't know how they're going to resolve that, and whether everybody's going to be able to supply a team. It's certainly a landscape that is changing, ever changing, day by day, the way it's going at the moment. Hi to Michael Creighton, Stephen Martin, lots of people joining us on our Facebook with their opinions, YouTube as well. I'll read them out. Another thing, there's another statement which I must read out. At this time, it's regarding the transfer window. Statements days, I love it. Here's a statement regarding the transfer window, which I think is positive news for everyone who may well have to see what sort of money they've got available. A request by the SFA to open the transfer window from today until midnight on Monday, 5th of October, has been approved by FIFA. The Joint Response Group took into account the following: staggered start dates to the SPFL competitions, which is fair, and the need to strike a balance to allow all clubs to prepare for the season. The recommendation from UEFA that European leagues close their windows on October 5th. Match day 1 of the Betfred Cup is scheduled for October 6th. The SPFL board has approved amended loan rules to extend the October loan window for League 1 and League 2 to also cover the Championship as well. I mean, you wouldn't think, but of the transfer activity that's gone on, that anybody was struggling, because we still have been able to witness, Darren, players coming in and out of various clubs, albeit they've received a bit of flack, depending on what's come out in the last 3 or 4 weeks with regards to possible redundancies, deferrals of wages, staff being told that they'll be leaving the club. This fine balancing act goes on, Darren, with the whole situation where you are bringing in players, also trying to say to people behind the scenes, Hugh, that there might not be a job there for them as well.
Yeah, it's been pretty. I wouldn't say shambolic in a way, but it's been pretty eye-opening into the sort of cynical nature of football as a business, isn't it, Peter? We understand why things are happening, but I mean, if you're a player wondering about where your next wage is coming from, and certainly if it does come, it might be reduced in its heftiness, and clubs are immediately signing players that might even come to replace you. It's a difficult one to swallow for me. It really is.
Yeah, the transfer window being open to October 8th is great in one sense, Darren. Not so good for some teams who might feel they could get cherry-picked a little later on than usual from England.
Yeah, well, Peter, that's why they stopped it last year. They tried to. I think, was it the week before or 2 weeks before? Because that's what you don't want to happen. I think when the season starts, you should have your squad. Now, a manager will be this causes massive problems, because a manager's happy with his squad and thinks, right, we've got a wee chance this year, and then someone comes in and takes one of your top players. Probably the last day, so because they're trying to get the best price, second last day, the last day, and then you're under pressure to go and maybe take someone, yes, that you like, but not particularly like was top of the list. So that's where I think it should be. It should be, and I know this year's different to any other, but I think it was good last year that they closed the window. I think it was 2 weeks before the season started, and I think that's important for managers to have their squads that they're happy with and they know nothing can happen.
Here's a question for you, Dan, and this is always good, Hugh, because it's a point that we always have to suffer depending on the levels that you go through in your life, your working life, when you get jobs, the good ones, the not so good ones escape you, you maybe make a sideways move. We've all done it. Darren, as an agent, how difficult is it to tell a player, by the way, I've got 4 or 5 clubs interested in you and they're all at this level, but the player thinks he's that level?
Well, that's, Peter, if I'm truthful, that's the problem you have. And again, I'll go further. It's parents now as well, because they think that their son's this and they should be getting this, and he's getting paid that, and he's got this and he's got that, and it's all you can be. I would like to think I was truthful with them. You make calls. If the manager says no, you need to be truthful with them. And if that's what the salary is, you try and do as best you can by putting it, like, they might not be happy with the wage, but there's appearance money, there could be a little signing on fee, there could be, if you play after 10 games, after 15 games, you get a rise. So they're happy with it. But it is very hard, Peter, because it's their livelihood. But yes, I think that's the problem. And I'm not saying nowadays, that's the problem that kind of emerged, that expectations are through the roof because you see this player's getting 100. Why am I not getting 100 grand a week? And how am I not getting 50, 15, 20 grand a week? And just basically because you're not good enough. And
Gosh,
listen, I'm not being disrespectful, but that's where it is hard for an agent. But as long as you're truthful with them and you're upfront with them, and you say, I phoned this one and I phoned this one, they've said no, they've said no, but you keep on going. And you can only give them the clubs that the manager says, yes, I fancy them, and nowadays it is very, very hard after what's happened. Young kids are going to go out the game, Peter, and they'll struggle to get back in.
Yeah, can I ask you this? And you don't need to name names, but it's just for me and Hugh for titillation, really. Have you ever managed to get a player to a club with a whacker of a deal and you thought, wow, he's going to be out of his depth there, but I've got to do the best for him?
No, I've never ever taken a player to a club where I've thought you're happy. There's deals that you're very, very happy with, and it's not to say the player's not worth it. Like I can remember, and this is I can remember when Alec McLeish phoned about Stephen Thompson. It was a Saturday night and said, Dan, I fancy Stephen. It was a swap deal with Billy. And so I phoned Tom on a Saturday night. And so they were the things, like taking Mark Wilson to Celtic. And they say, like that they say, do you want to bring his dad along? His dad's a mad Celtic man. And it was the best day of his dad's life. His son signed for Celtic. Do you know what I mean? So that's the kind of buzz you get, Peter. Because as a player, you don't get that buzz. So it's when young kids make their debuts or they get moves that to their heroes and the team that they support. That was the buzz. But I don't think I've ever said, oh, by the way, what a deal I've done there. People get what they're worth, but that's the bit I enjoyed about it.
Yeah. Did you lose the buzz when you signed for your 14th club? Was the buzz gone then? Yeah. I've
still got the buzz. I never lost the buzz.
I know you. You're right.
Like obviously with my groin just now, I can't play. But even playing fives, playing charity games, I still have that knot in my stomach and buzz. So I don't think it ever leaves you.
No, that's good. That's good. That's why you're here. Connor Lynch is on our YouTube channel. Connor says, Peter, can I have a shout out to my new team? And I hope I've pronounced this correctly. Dormey Forest, who are a team for people who struggle with mental health. All are welcome to play in the Strathclyde Saturday Morning League, which is fantastic because Darren's talking about the buzz of playing football at any level, and I think Connor Lynch has just displayed it there. The buzz of getting involved in the footy. Well done to you, Connor, and all the team. Hope it goes well for the season. And of course, lots of people putting messages. I'll try and give as many of them a shout out as absolutely possible who want a wee mention. Jonathan Doe says Darren has the buzz because of the money he makes as an agent. Well, there's another angle we're not going to get down, but nevertheless, apart
Peter,
from anything else,
Peter,
what
I can be up front there. If people think that you can make good money as an agent in Scotland, it can't happen, because unless you maybe had 10 Rangers players and 10 Celtic players, which you're not going to have, that's the only way you can make money, because that's where obviously the higher wages. Apart from that, there'll never be an agent in Scotland that's made incredible money, because the players don't get incredible money, so obviously the agent wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point you make, and never more so than now. When you look at the players who are talking about new deals, they are the top players, Hugh. And now we're in a situation where, Celtic still wondering whether they're going to get Fraser Foster. They're in talks at the moment with Ryan Christie for a new deal. Odsonne Edouard seems receptive to talking about a new deal at Celtic. What do you make of those three players, Hugh?
Well, I think the first one about Odsonne is that Odsonne Edouard has also got a bit of a deal to go. Anyway, Celtic have got him tied down, so probably the negotiation stance with him is to say to him, listen, we've upped your wage considerably on the last deal. How about let's upping it again, you staying for a season, and when the whole COVID thing calms down, end of next season, we'll be receptive to a good bid for you. If you just give us another year, in essence, and he might just be receptive to that, because there doesn't seem to be at the moment, and we've got until October, Peter. There's a lot of things to do at the moment. There's not the big buzz about him at the moment to go to a club that he might want to go. There's been little rumours about clubs in England, including Everton, but not quite the bigger move. So that might be a possibility. Ryan Christie is just another example of the Celtic model, really. If you've got a good young player and he's improving, give him a good contract, and so that if when he's ready to go and he wants to go, whether it be Stuart Armstrong or whoever, you're going to get a good fee for him. So that's part of the strategy. And finally, the Fraser Foster thing. I think the most interesting thing is the cooling of the Chelsea interest in him. If Chelsea interest is cooling, it does add to the possibility that we be back. But Fraser Foster's in a very good position at the moment. He's got the Celtic option, and he's got he'll probably have other clubs to talk to as well. So he'll be in no rush. He'll be wanting to make the best decision for Fraser Foster, which is as he should be.
I read an interesting article this morning, Darren, from Damien Duff, who was a former coach at Celtic, and he reckons that Callum McGregor could actually easily slot into that Barcelona side. Now, I'm sure, I don't want to spark off 1,000,001 people battering us on this programme, but I can understand where he's coming from, because that boy, for me, is one of the most underrated players in Scottish football. When we talk about some of the people that are in the midfield that we are absolutely raving about, and rightly so, I think McGregor is one of those players. He's got that ability to pick a pass, play a one-touch when people would take two to steady themselves. He can keep the game moving, and he's got a real awareness of what's around him. That's what I love about him as a midfielder.
Without doubt, Peter, I was lucky enough to play with some excellent midfielders, and Paul McStay, John Collins, Gary McAllister, Stuart McCall, Billy McKinlay, God almighty, fantastic players. And Callum's Callum's probably an 8 out of 10 every week, Peter. He does. I wouldn't say he's absolutely exceptional at one thing, but he's brilliant at most things. He can be box to box. He can defend. He can pass. He keeps it simple, and he scores goals. And he scores goals in big games. Callum has become a big game player. When the European game comes up, the Old Firm games, Callum's always in there. If he's not scoring, he's getting himself chances, and he has. And I hope people don't take that being disrespectful of him, saying that he's not exceptional at one thing, because he is absolutely brilliant at most things for a midfield player. And listen, I can see where he's coming from. A lot of people will turn on and don't talk like that. He couldn't play for Barcelona, but I see where Damon Duff's coming from, because he never lets you down. He keeps the ball. You never actually see him in any games. Oh, like there's Callum McGregor giving the ball away again. Oh, there's some giving that away. He just doesn't really give the ball away. He doesn't hit 15, 60-yard passes, but he knows the right pass. And that's, when you talk about top players, Peter, it's all about decision-making. And Callum's decision-making is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk Rangers in a moment. I'm going to talk Hibs. We'll hear from Joe Cardle. We'll also hear from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we've got a little feature on Gareth Bale. How many people would love to have Gareth Bale in their team? He can't even get a game for Real Madrid, no less. Now, as ever, I always like to just offer a note of caution and sensibility on the programme. Because it's a programme where Hugh and Darren and myself and Barry Ferguson, everybody will offer, a reaction to your points. Just remember that when you're making a point, we do have a rule of try not to be abusive. Certainly avoid any kind of sectarianism or racism. But we also have to just try and make sure that when you're making a point, that you realise that you're not stepping over the line. William Gerrard, here's a thing about the media. Why don't you have a go at the people in the SPFL and SFA? This is war now, and Hearts will destroy Scottish football. William makes a couple of, an accusation that maybe the SPFL and the SFA not properly run. So with that in mind, in fact, there's the SFA on the phone now. Just hope that Darren's able to take the call from them. Anyway, apart from it, is that you, McDonald? You're a disgrace. Is it you, Jackson?
No, it's not me.
Is it me?
No, at all.
Is it me? Is it me? It's the SFA. It's the SFA saying to us we're perfectly legitimate. But I would say, William, if you are going to make a point about any organisation, try not to throw just statements out willy-nilly that question the integrity of them, because that's let's leave that to the clubs, Hugh, because that's what's happened over the last 3 months.
I mean, this is not going to go away, and it's not going to go away after any final judgment either. There's a whole rift in Scottish football that it's turned into a chasm, Peter, and it's not going to be healed anytime soon. I said this a few weeks ago, and I got slaughtered in social media for it. But I think more and more people are now coming to the realisation that in this instance, if only in this instance, I'm correct, this is a chasm. And there's going to be bad feeling in Scottish football about this for a long time to come.
Yeah, I don't know how we actually get ourselves sorted out of this mess. I know that Lachlan Cameron again mentioned in an article that the BBC have actually put out, obviously putting it out as if Lachlan's just said it, but he said it 4 months ago on this show that he'd like to see Scottish football run by a commissioner. It's just one of those situations where I actually am starting to warm to his suggestion, Hugh, if only for the fact that we have witnessed over the last 4 months clubs, again, and I talk about it religiously every year, clubs over the last 40 years have displayed nothing other than self-interest, anything to benefit themselves to the detriment of other clubs. There's never been a collective decision which involves everybody having a fair vote and something which is fair to everyone. It's always been about self-interest and backstabbing. And that's why I'm thinking a commissioner that makes decisions for the whole of the SPFL might be something I would embrace. Are you warming to it?
Well, I would love it. I mean, but I just think it's completely and utterly not on. And the reason I think it's not on is if you were starting an SPFL from day one now, if you're saying, right, let's get all these teams together and let's set up a league and let's set up a rules of association, a rule of articles, the first thing you would put in it and say, well, we really need a commissioner. We need a commissioner to arbitrate in debates. We need, the way the NFL have one, the way the NBA have one, the way Major League Baseball has one. But now, the mechanism for getting a commissioner in place, Peter, as you know, it would have to be voted on by the clubs, and they're not going to vote.
Yeah.
They're not going to vote for something that takes away their power. Just so it's not on. But if you're asking if it's if it would be a fantastic solution, of course it would be. But I just don't see how it's going to be executed.
Yeah, absolutely. Another little story which has come out again today. It's come out for the second time in over a month, which is amazing, really, how that happens.
Oh.
But I noticed the BBC had an interview with, Paul Lambert, who says that, Rangers, have got to try and stop 10 in a row, or, their history of 9 in a row will be gone. I wonder where he said that first. Yep, he said it on our show a month ago. I wonder what's happening here. They say when you get copied, it's supposed to flatter you. I'm just thought I'd throw it out there, guys. Thank you to Alison Ross, who sent us a message saying, I love the show, she says, regarding the SFA notice. Below is a section of Lord Clark's response covering the SFA punishing the two clubs. There is a possibility of it being unlawful. She says, on the advice of responsible counsel, Hearts and Partick Thistle brought these proceedings to court, alleging unfair prejudice on that and several other grounds. In my opinion, questions may arise as to whether, in that context, a bar on raising legal proceedings without the permission of the board of the SFA, subjecting a club which does so to the potentially extreme sanctions mentioned by senior counsel for the SPFL can be viewed as contrary to public policy and hence unlawful. It's a complicated matter, says Alison. Alison, midway through that line, I knew it was complicated because I was still reading. I was still reading what I was saying to go back over it. It goes back to what we were talking about here, which is quite simply, Hearts and Partick Thistle must have been well aware of the fact they were breaking the rules, but willing to take the hit.
Yep. And they maybe had advice as well, Peter, that they could get round the Articles of Association under certain little provisos. But they won't. They can't have been surprised that the SFAs come after them. Surprised that it was today, perhaps, but not in the long term.
I noticed Jermaine Defoe, again, it's a rallying cry from Jermaine saying he reckons he's had a look at the dressing room, what's there. He reckons Rangers can stop 10 in a row. Now, Jermaine Defoe, for me, is just, as a professional footballer, I think his career has been absolutely fantastic, Darren. I just, as a person, I just love him as well. You just have to look at his the great story of his affection with the young Bradley Lowry at Sunderland. He's a winner. He scores great goals. He's obviously at the tail end of his career, but would like to finish it with winning something or at least making an impact at Rangers. So he reckons they can stop 10 in a row. I think possibly he would probably like to see maybe a couple more players of the quality of himself to maybe really strengthen that case.
I think 100%, Peter. He's got to say that. He's got to be confident. And I can see where his confidence is coming from after especially the two Old Firm games that they played well. But he's not stupid. He's played with the big boys down south. He knows what it takes to be winners, and he would probably know they let themselves down. Did they have enough characters in the dressing room to take it on? Obviously not. But he sees what Steven Gerrard's trying to do there. And so I get his confidence, I get where he's coming from. And Defoe's been incredible through his career, Peter. I mean, they say that sometimes when you look at a player, he's maybe too small or he's too... I mean, he was an incredible goal scorer for every club he was at, and he'll still score goals. Because, as I say, whoever he plays for, Jermaine Defoe will score goals. Will he play play a key role? I wouldn't think so if they keep Morelos. But if they don't, I think they would bring someone else on in. When they're injured, Jermaine would play. Will he come on late in games? But when he comes on, when Jermaine Defoe plays, you give yourself a chance of scoring goals. There's no doubt about that.
I'll tell you what's going to happen, Hugh, and this is me again making a prediction. I wrote an article in 2011 about the return of Rangers and what would happen over the next 6 or 7 years. I wrote it on our website for PLZ Soccer about what was going to happen with the whole of Scottish football, and I'm going to send it on to you at some point because everything is like a prophecy of what's going on. This one that I believe is coming up now, when this season gets underway, Hugh, I think by December and January we are going to become one of the most poisonous leagues ever. I think conduct will be in question. I think it's going to become heated. I think it'll be nasty. And I think that because, quite simply, if this is us showing our qualities when we don't have football playing over the last 3 or 4 months, what's it going to be like when the pressure really kicks in for 10 in a row? Because Jermaine Defoe and the Rangers players, Paul Lambert is absolutely spot on what he said to us about over a month ago, which is quite simply the pressure to stop 10 in a row will become incredible. And I think it will become vitriolic at times, Hugh.
I think so as well, Peter. I think that is absolutely inevitable. I mean, interestingly, that Paul also told us when we had him on that he was talking about playing in a Champions League Cup final and winning for Dortmund against Juventus and remarking that wasn't the greatest achievement of his career. His greatest achievement in his career was stopping the 10, he said, because I've never in my life, he said, felt such relief. It was just flooding through my body because imagine being the team that didn't protect the history of Celtic, so that the pressure there'll be. It's a very Scottish thing as well because, as you know, Peter, people in England and in the wider world will not be looking at this as any great big shakes. But if you live in a Scottish crucible, a real maelstrom of Scotland, you know how huge this is going to be. And you're right, the pressure, every refereeing decision, every postponed match, every fixture, it'll go down to, matches, every decision by opposition managers, every decision by an opposition player. It'll be extraordinary.
Every three members of an independent panel. Can we have their names, please?
Silent.
It'll all be there. It'll all be there. But what I would say with that, that's why I think Steven Gerrard, and I look at the words of the manager, Darren, in this. I think Steven Gerrard will look for people that he knows by whether he has to get them on a loan deal, whether he has to buy hook or buy crook, pull a few strokes with regards to coaxing somebody at the tail end of his career like Defoe, who's got a wee bit of experience, a wee bit of bite. I think he needs people in there who are ready for the fight because he already questioned the people that didn't actually show the bottle from January onwards. He was talking about mentality. He's talking about the psychology of being able to handle the pressure. He's talking about players that will not tolerate Hamilton coming to Ibrox and winning 1-0. And that was the failing of a number of Rangers players. So I think he's still looking and saying, get me 1 or 2 of these guys on the list.
100%, Peter. That's what I've just said. It's about, listen, you can be good enough to go and play for Celtic and Rangers, but when you get there, can you handle the pressure? And that's what Stephen's probably looked at from the start of the season. But I think what changed, Peter, from the 29th of December, Rangers, probably with in their own fans, but with a lot of people, actually became favourites. And I don't think the players handled actually being favourites and the pressure on them, because once they beat Celtic on the 29th, the expectation of the fans is that we're going to win this. We're better than them. We're going to win this. And the players didn't handle it. And that Stephen will sit back with his staff and just think, like, who do we know that's got that experience and come in and maybe sit in the middle of the park, a centre half, can sit there and talk boys through the game and speak to them about handling pressure, but you don't know about pressure until you've been there. And I know what Lambo said. There is huge pressure. Like, I'm a country mile from being a Celtic legend, Peter. I know that. I'm miles and miles from it. But I will always be remembered of being part of the squad that stopped 10 in a row. And like people come up, and he was part of the squad that stopped 10. It wasn't just a normal league. It was stopping 10 in a row. And that is Lambo's 100% right. That is the pressure the Rangers players are going to have to handle this year, is stopping history.
Yeah, did you feel that? I think you missed out a couple of miles there in your miles and miles. There was 2 miles. It was a couple of miles out. I'm only winding you up. Anyway, apart from anything else,
Peter,
you got to play in it.
We've spoken about it. We lost the first 2 games against Hibs and Dunfermline, and I actually do believe that because Vim just came in and he was actually quite attached from it, he didn't actually get it to begin with. Now, after the first 2 games, I'm sure Murdo sat down with him and they spoke about it, and they just said, this is history. This isn't just, you've not just come into a normal league. This can't happen. And I wouldn't say I saw a change, but I think it was good that Vim was detached and he didn't get as uptight. He was very, very composed and calm, Vim, and it probably rubbed off on the players a little bit. But I mean, it's huge. I mean, the pressure was every single game. I can remember going up to Tannadice and being 1-0 down, and we went to Kilmarnock and Simon scored late on in that, Peter. It was just, there was pressure every single game, and obviously it was every game until the last game of the season. And I had good comps that game.
So absolutely. I can
watch it.
I was actually working trackside for STV, and I couldn't see the game for your heat, to be honest with you. And I remember a fantastic article written in the Herald after game 2. Jackson must go, says McDonald. So, I mean, it was incredible. Anyway, apart from anything else, it's a great insight from you because you were part of that, and I don't think anybody will ever take that away from you. Excuse me. Joe Cardle coming up. I managed to get a quick chat with Joe. He's out coaching kids. He's in negotiations to extend his career with Partick Thistle. He's getting to that point, 33, that he might be looking to the coaching as well, but he's still got a couple of years, I think, in his legs. This is what he had to say just earlier this afternoon on the future and, of course, the badges that he's been taking to try and become a coach in the future. Well, I'm delighted to say our special guest is Partick Thistle's winger, Joe Cardle. Joe, you never stop. You're out there coaching the kids.
Yeah, it's been a long 3 weeks. I'm not going to lie, Peter. I started doing a bit of coaching a couple of Mondays ago. I put it up on Facebook just to keep me ticking over, as I've just been sitting on my bum for the last couple of weeks. So it was a case where I put something up at 9 o'clock at night just to see if any kids in the local area would be interested. And Peter's took off massively. I'm fully booked for the next 4 weeks with the one-to-ones, and I'm putting group sessions on. Obviously, keeping it in the guidelines, but we're putting on group sessions now, and I've got another 3 coaches working for me. In the space of 3 weeks, we've coached over 120 kids, so it's incredible.
Yeah, and listen, I'm delighted that's been successful, and long may it continue in difficult times. Of course, you've passed exams. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's came to a point now where obviously I'm coming to the end of my career, and I'm lucky enough that I've done my badges. I've done my B licence about 4 years ago. Then I managed to do my A licence 2 years ago, and I mean, it's starting to think of a future. Obviously, wanting to stay in the game. I'm 33 now, so it was a situation where the PFA actually got in touch with me, and they managed to create some amount of funding, to be honest, to get us on this course. I think the course costing up to $6,000, and they managed to get the majority of the funding for all the players that wanted to do it. And I thought I might as well use it to my advantage and go for it. It was only in Edinburgh Napier University, and was a great opportunity for myself, and I think it was another 14 boys, obviously top players that were on the course with me. We had Stephen Whittaker, Darren McGregor, David Gray, Christoph Berra, Stephen Anderson, Marvin Bartley, boys like that are obviously coming to the end of their careers and want to push on. And it gave us an incredible insight of being a manager day to day and everything else that comes with it. It's obviously I know how to put on a drill. I've done my coaching badges, but this is something different, and it's how to deal with people and being a manager and dealing with chairmen and board members and supporters. So it was incredible.
And has that whetted your appetite now, Joe, to get into that chair one day?
Yeah, it's at a point now where I need to start thinking, because basically football's all I know. I've only ever played football since I was 16. From the day I left school, I've been a professional football player. I've been lucky enough that I've stayed full time throughout. So as I said, it's all I really know. So if I can be lucky enough down the line to be given an opportunity in the game, then I'd like to have all the fundamentals in place, that I know how to put on a coaching session, and I know how to deal with different players, and when it comes to board members and dealing with contracts. So as I said, it's just good to have all these things in place for when hopefully the opportunity does arise.
Yeah, and when you're a manager, how would you handle a winger who's tricky, who can supply goals but score them as well? How would you handle a Joe Cardle?
I'd put my arm around him, tell him he's the greatest player in the world. That's exactly how that would it'd be fun, to be fair. I've had a couple of them managers in my lifetime, and as I said, I've been lucky enough that I've played under quite a lot of good managers. And as I said, all I want to do is be able to continue on and play full-time football for as long as I can. As I said, I'm out of contract just now, but we're in talks with Partick Thistle to keep me on. It's been a bit of a funny summer, don't get me wrong, with the situation with being relegated, with all the harsh realities which actually happened. So listen, I want to play as long as I can. So hopefully I can do that for Partick Thistle. If not, then it's football at the end of the day. But as I said, it's just about staying full time and enjoying it as long as I can.
Yeah, just before you go, Partick Thistle and Hearts are obviously at the arbitration meeting at the moment. Everybody's speculating on what potentially could be the outcome. But as a player and your fellow teammates, are you resigned to getting ready to play in League One?
I think the harsh reality is that, yeah, it's looking more and more likely as it carries on. As I said, it's just been a strange summer because we just feel like it's been taken out of our hands. We were getting into a good run of form. Don't get me wrong, we're down there for a reason. We've not been good enough, and we all know that. The boys all understand that no one throughout the whole squad has hit the peaks that we should have. But the harsh reality is we had a game in hand. We were in a situation where we were picking up points, and I think if we would have played that game in hand, we would have got the 3 points. So it's difficult to take on board, but as I said, we need to look to the future now. And if it is a situation where we're in League One, we need to do it. If I'm a Partick Thistle player next season, we need to do it in the space of a year and get the club back to halfway where they should be.
Yeah, it's difficult times, Joe. I mean, Dundee have been asking players to take cuts. All sorts of clubs are asking players to take cuts. Do you think Partick Thistle, Hearts and Stranraer aside, there is more pain for other clubs to come?
Massively. It's if you look at the actual reality that every club in Scottish football's not took a penny for the last 4 or 5 months. It's scary how no clubs have actually went down yet, because it's scary. It's obviously I'm lucky enough that Partick Thistle have been fantastic throughout the whole process. They've managed to keep all the boys on furlough. Even for myself, that's out of contract. It's obviously difficult, but at least I'm getting something. I'm getting to pay my mortgage at the end of the month. As I say, when you look around at other teams, they've not been able to do that, and it is a scary time for everyone. I know that, but when you look at football terms, that there's not going to be any gate money coming in the next another 4 or 5 months. It's scary.
Yeah, well, finally, when I think of footballers who I would pay to go and see and entertain, you certainly come into that category. How many years have you got in the old legs?
Yeah, as I said, I've used it to my advantage with the time off. I probably am the fittest I've ever been throughout my career, and people will find that hard to believe at 33 that I'm, as I'm saying that, I'm not trying to sell myself at all, but I've been running every day, maybe having the odd day off now and again, but with the time off that we're having, I put my little girl to bed normally about 6 o'clock, and then I'm out for at least a good hour, and I feel that I know it's just long distance running. Even with the coaching, I'm doing it every half an hour that I get spare. I'm using the cones and all the agility stuff to use my sharpness as well. So listen, I'm ready to go. I'm desperate to get a ball by my feet, and hopefully it's soon.
Joe, I hope you go on to become a successful manager, but I hope you've got a couple of years of entertaining us still ahead. Listen, good luck with the kids and the academy, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's one of those players, Darren, that I've enjoyed watching him. I can remember him playing, being a tricky winger at Dunfermline as well. I like Joe.
Yeah, he's one of them. When you get the ball, you think something's going to happen. And he's talking about coaching there, Peter. And if I can maybe pass on a little bit of advice, I did my coaching badges. I did kind of late on. I think boys should go, and I don't mean too early. I mean, I think about 26, 27, 28, and go and do all your badges, because it helps you understand the game a bit more now, tactically, what the manager's talking about, what he's looking for. So if I can give a little bit of advice, go and do your badges. If you don't want to be a manager or a coach after football, that's fine, but at least you've got them just in case.
And the other thing I was going to say to you, Hugh, you'll have noticed this, but it's getting to the point now we've had that many top drawer players and managers on. We're interviewing them in bushes now, Hugh. We don't care where they're standing. If they're standing in a bush, we're in. I mean, I bet you next month Joe Cardle is in the Beechgrove Garden, the BBC, with Kenny McIntyre walking alongside him.
Peter, I wouldn't be happy if I was his wee girl getting shoved to bed at 6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock? No, I thought to myself, what has she done? What has she done wrong? I mean, she's 27, Joe.
She's 14.
Fantastic, I know. That's what I was thinking, Darren, as well. But nevertheless, he's one of those guys. You know what I love, about the Joe Cardles of the world, Hugh? When you go to a game, you want to see somebody who can do something. Just a trick, a wee skill, something that you just think, that's a joy to watch,
I know, and I was at Thistle a couple of times last season, just in the bottom of my road, basically, and I watched them come on a couple of times and actually change the game, just because make defenders that bit more apprehensive. And another one as well, Joe hopefully has got a couple of years left in him, but I noticed that Gary Harkins has nailed up the boots, and he was great, wasn't he? I mean, you could go to a Thistle game and you just something in the game, he would just do something, you would go, oh, that's football, I love that. That's been worth my 20 quid, at the door.
Yeah. Hugh, you're 100% correct. I watched Gary at Dundee, I watched him at Morton, I'm thinking Partick Thistle as well, and I'm looking at him, how have you not been able to go into a higher level? There's just something missing in it that it just, I don't know, is it fitness? Is it...
If I can say, it was probably his pace. Like, Gary had no pace to go to that, to go to the highest level, but ability-wise, he was good as anybody on the ball. His vision, see a pass, make a pass, always wanted the ball, good size, could protect the ball, and if I don't know if I'm right, but I would say his pace was probably the stumbling block going to the highs.
Yeah, maybe he needed pace. I have witnessed a few players that.
I don't mean pace, Peter. I don't mean Usain Bolt pace. I just mean like good pace to run into corners or like just things like that. I don't mean electric pace. You don't need electric pace, but as I say, that's the only thing I can say, because everything else he had.
Absolutely. I was trying to think to myself, did Lubomir Moravcik have pace when he trapped the ball with his back end, I mean, it's amazing. You see people who do things. Di Canio at West Ham with the scissors kick for the goal. They stick in your head. And I'll give you one, Hugh. I don't know if you can remember it, but I think it was at Vicarage Road. Glenn Hoddle scored a goal where he flipped it round one player and then chipped the goalkeeper. And I am looking as a boy and I'm thinking, oh, he's a genius. He is he's my type of player, you know. Do you remember that goal?
Well, I know, absolutely, and I remember, and then I know people who trained and played with him, and who were good players as well, Peter. You know, obviously they were at Spurs, and they just said that Hoddle in training was just like just another level. In fact, a lot of people reckon that one of his downfalls as a coach, particularly at England, was that when he was on the training ground, he could be a bit, shall we say, a bit flamboyant with the players, showing them how to do stuff, and a lot of them didn't take too kindly to it, Peter. It's like you in this show, you know, that you can be a bit flamboyant about your broadcasting skills, and the rest of us. The rest of us could take a bit of a cream puff about him. I mean, Roughie's shot off for a fortnight. Roughie's in rehab.
People are worried about Roughie where he is.
Here to tell a quick story. Glenn Hoddle was my hero, and I managed to play against him for Newcastle against Tottenham at White Hart Lane. It was the year Clive Allen scored 45 goals. They beat us 1-0 in the FA Cup, and I was actually playing against them. Now, you'll probably get a few messages in through Facebook and YouTube that, yes, I had bad games in my career. That was the worst game I ever had in my career. I could not get near him. He was just incredible. And I was probably in awe of him as well, playing in that game. I was only 19, playing at White Hart Lane against Glenn Hoddle, and you just think to yourself, wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Hugh, you've missed the boat there. Glenn Hoddle's problem was that, and I can nail it 100%, you know, a lot of people have tried to work out what it was. Glenn Hoddle's problem was he was born in England. They didn't realise at that time they should have built the entire team around him. I mean, he should have been the linchpin and everybody else should have been literally fawning over him. If he'd been born in France or Brazil, we'd be talking about him as an absolute megastar.
Even Germany, I mean, people talk about the Germans wanting work rate and all that, but you know, the Germans could be quite, shall we say, indulgent if you were a brilliant player. I mean, they were indulgent with Effenberg. They let him be indulgent with Netzer for people going back. Netzer every now and again wouldn't track back. They knew what Netzer had going forward, so they could be indulgent with him. But the English football team, in terms of Mavericks, Peter, we would do a programme on this, but yes, I think Hoddle would be the top one for me. But if you went down the list, Letizia, would Matthew Letizia come out? Would you be saying Frank Worthington could have been possibly persisted with as well? Stan Bowles, could they got more out of him? There's a few. Rodney Marsh.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gaza should have had 100 caps. He was just, incredible. And again, Hoddle of all people didn't take him to the World Cup. I mean, come on. He should have been first on the plane. Anyway, and on that note, how do you handle somebody who is an absolutely top drawer player? What happens if you're the manager and you just fall out with him for some reason? You just don't want him in your team. Well, that's happened to the next man who's currently sitting on the bench at Real Madrid.
Gareth Bale turns 31 on Thursday, and as the clock ticks in his career, his opportunities at Real Madrid get slimmer and slimmer. So what next for Bale? Since his move to the Spanish capital in 2013, he's experienced unrivaled success, winning 4 Champions Leagues, a Copa del Rey and 1 league title, which will almost certainly be 2 come the weekend as Real see out La Liga. The Welshman formed the fearsome BBC trio with Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema, and has scored 105 times in 251 games, with several of them pivotal, such as the header to secure La Decima, his iconic sprint from the halfway line against Barcelona, and who could forget the overhead kick in Kiev to beat Liverpool. But despite this, for the last few years he's been used sparingly and seemed surplus to requirements. He was nearly moved on last summer and has been just limited to 16 appearances this campaign, netting only twice, although his morale does not seem affected. Moves to China and the United States have been mooted, as well as a possible return to England with former club Spurs or even Manchester United. But the combination of his wages and his age make a move difficult to complete. Earning €50 million a year and with 2 seasons left to run on his contract, Should Bale let his deal run down and waste his final peak years sitting on the bench, or should he look to move elsewhere for another chance to be the main man?
I don't know about you guys, Hugh. I cannot believe it with this guy. I mean, he is world class, and the world class manager doesn't want him. It's a Hoddle Gascoigne all over again. He should be playing every week. He's magnificent.
Yeah, he was nearly away to China, I remember, last season as well. It was almost a done deal, and then Real Madrid found out they weren't going to get too much money for him and kiboshed it. So there's a huge amount of ill feeling there, Peter. I don't know what the way out of it. The simple way is that if Real Madrid lower their transfer fee for him and let him go, but I think Gareth Bale's got to have a look at his bottom line as well. Does he say that he wants to maintain and run down that very lucrative contract, or is he willing to take a cut in his wages and maybe make himself more attractive to teams? Could Spurs come in from Manchester United at one time were supposed to be interested in him? But I think the wage demands would have to come down to make that a case.
Yeah, I'd love to see him back in English football. He's just a gem. And of course, listen.
Yeah, his wage demands maybe need to come down to maybe 400 grand a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but is he happy? Listen, one other thing that before we finish, Man United, obviously, last night, chance to go third, and I couldn't believe it. I sat down and watched the game, and I thought to myself, "Oh, cruising!" And I loved watching Southampton. Southampton are a good, high-pressing team, but boy, there was a late equaliser, and I think, as you can see now, it's stuck in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's throat.
We've been on a great run, and it's not going to be like turn up and be given 3 points. So they're going to be tough games all the next 3 as well. So we didn't expect anything else but what we got here today from Southampton. We knew they were going to be positive. They were going to go for it. It was a good game of football that unfortunately ended with a conceded goal at the end for us. We've learned the hard lesson today, hopefully. So we'll make it right. We'll put it right.
I still think they'll get that top 4 place. Hugh, do you?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the pressure's telling on we know that the Man City and Liverpool have tied their places up, so there's another 2 up for grabs. But this week we saw Chelsea being beaten very comfortably by Sheffield United. We saw the most amazing result of the season. I thought Bournemouth with 10 men scoring 4 against Leicester. So in the light of that, although Ollie's been disappointed, that wasn't a terrible result last night, a draw against Southampton. Southampton are a good mob at the moment, Peter, and that would be out of those three results, that would be the best result, I would have said. And I think Manchester United are on a good roll at the moment, and they'll qualify for the Champions League.
Peter, Leicester play Man United last game of the season.
Yeah, so they're stuffed
at Leicester. So if the results go, it'll be very, very interesting.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, maybe, and it's just a long shot, Dan. I don't like to put 2 and 2 together and make it 5, but maybe even if Leicester qualify for the Europa League, which would be great going, but if they qualify for the Champions League, that would maybe put Brendan Rodgers in the shop window, and he could join a bigger club like Celtic or something like that. Because I know he's at a smaller club like Leicester at the moment. Just a thought, Hugh. The other one is Lindsay Buchanan says 50 million for sitting on your backside, no problem. Lindsay, I'm with you on that, and I think the best line, and this is the way. Our viewers actually listen to every line, Hugh, and then they see if they can pick up and belt it back down our throats. And I love it. I love Scottish people with a bit of humour, bit of laugh about it. And this is David, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, David Palfreman, who says Real Madrid should do a swap deal with Bale and McGregor. Now there you are. If he's good enough for you to play for Barcelona, surely there's a fair swap. McGregor goes to Real Madrid and Bale comes to Celtic Park. Is that fair, Hugh? Are you happy with that?
That would be fair, but I'd love to be in Peter Lawwell's room when Bale outlines his wage demands. I'd love to see Peter Lawwell's face at Gareth Bale's rage demands. That's all I'll say.
No, all I'll say to that, Darren, is I'd love to be the Real Madrid Florentino Perez sits down and Peter Lawwell says to him, "Yeah, we'll take Bale, but we'll need cash as well."
Yes, I can imagine.
With a straight face, you can have McGregor, but we'll need Bale and cash. Brilliant. Oh, dear. Anyway, apart from anything else, it was great to have Joe Cardle on the show. Again, proof's in the pudding. Lots of different managers and players from every club. Thank you for your support. You've made us the #1 football show. The figures are fantastic. People are joining us day in, day out. Some of you are sharing the stream. Don't forget you can get us on Facebook. Like, share and follow us. There are some great competitions coming up. I can't emphasise to you enough the campaign we've got coming up. I think you will enjoy. Certainly if you're out and about in the major cities in Scotland, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, hopefully Dundee, there's some real good chances for you to get involved and win yourself some nice prizes. That's all I'm going to say at this moment. It's in the offing as we speak. But Monday to Friday, it's great to have you like, share and follow on Facebook. And of course, the people who are subscribing to us on YouTube. It doesn't cost you a penny. You just get the notification. You can see all our unique content and our live shows as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed today from Hugh McDonald, Darren Jackson, who is not, may I say, not lots of people are saying, is Darren in the lavvy? No, that's just the echo chamber that can only be described as his kitchen, because he doesn't have anywhere which has insulation in it that would make him not sound as if he's in the lavvy. That's probably the best place you've got for your reception, isn't it?
Yes, that is, yes.
Yeah,
I'll try
because he's only... Absolutely, because as you know, if you're in Falkirk, Wi-Fi is new there. Anyway, on that note, I better leave before I get my head kicked in. From Darren, from Hugh, from myself, Peter Martin, thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.